These characters kicked the bucket and tickled our funny bones. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down our picks for the top 10 funniest deaths in TV shows.
Miss Blankenship. Blankenship.
Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we'll be looking at the character deaths that managed to be funny despite, or because of, how naturally morbid they were. Because there are character deaths ahead, there will be spoilers aplenty.
Hey, what can I tell you?
Number 10. Trevor Collins Newsworthy, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Daddy, you're not losing me.
One of Hillary's more prominent boyfriends, Trevor Collins Newsworthy worked as a news anchor, taking advantage of his newsworthy name. Trevor was so in love with the eldest Banks daughter that he proposed to her during a news segment on bungee jumping, while Hillary and her family watched. Unfortunately, he also tried jumping himself.
Will you marry me?
His on-air death was so abrupt that it was funny, and the family's varied reactions, particularly Hillary's initial cluelessness, are fantastic too.
But I don't think he's supposed to be slammed into the ground like that.
Trevor had the right idea about going big, but he should have made sure he could go home too. Number 9. Lois Ha, the last man on Earth. A new character in the show's third season, Lois Ha was a former arborist and an aspiring pilot, a hobby which he takes up with the hope of being reunited with his boyfriend, Mark, who may be overseas. After training for several episodes in a flight simulator, protagonist Phil gifts him with a real plane to take out for his first real flight. Although reluctant, Lois ultimately agrees, lifting the group's spirits. However, shortly after takeoff, Lois crashes and apparently dies. The build-up over the season that ultimately led to such a fiery and depressing demise is amusing, albeit rather dark.
Congratulations, my friend.
Number 8. Francis Griffin, Family Guy.
Here, this is for Megan.
The vigorously Catholic stepfather of Family Guy's main character, Peter Griffin, Francis is a very cantankerous character who's critical of nearly everyone he meets. While attending his granddaughter Meg's birthday party, Francis is crushed by Peter, who had dressed as a clown in a bizarre attempt to entertain for the party. While dying in the hospital, Francis's last words are to tell his son that he's a fat, stinking drunk.
You're a fat, stinking drunk.
Peter then buries him in a pet cemetery, only for him to come back as a zombie, prompting him to decide to bury him in a regular cemetery. Any one of these individual moments is funny, but strung together, they're hilarious.
Booze made me fall down all those stairs. Booze killed my father.
Number 7. Captain Seth Dozerman, Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Hello, I'm your new commanding officer.
The new captain of the 99th New York Police Precinct, Captain Dozerman is obsessed with productivity. His first day gets off to a less than auspicious start, however, after he passes out due to a heart condition. In an effort to get on his good side, Detective Jake Peralta feigns interest in efficiency. He and his co-worker Amy Santiago are also in a relationship and trying to keep it a secret. Unfortunately, Dozerman walks in on them and feels betrayed that Jake lied to him, vowing to break them apart. However, he then has a fortuitous heart attack and dies. It's an uncomfortable laugh, but one that Bill Hader helps facilitate.
Tell my wife that I love her.
Number 6. Arnold J Rimmer, Red Dwarf. The resident stick in the mud on the show's titular vessel, Arnold Rimmer has had some bad luck with death. He spends a good chunk of the series as a hologram after his death, which is the result of his own incompetence. However, during an episode with a complicated time travel plot, Rimmer tries to alter the past to make himself rich. While it fails to make him any money, he does end up alive once more, which he celebrates enthusiastically. A little too much, in fact, as he strikes several containers full of explosives, killing him once again.
What was he saying?
Number 5. Denham Ray Nome, the IT crowd. The founder and owner of Reynholm Industries, the enormously successful monolithic corporation that employs the main characters who work in its IT department, Denham Ray Nome is a tremendously arrogant, daffy, and bombastic businessman. That pride carries through to his final scene, which features his employees telling him about the company's absurd profits and Denham boasting about himself in a splendidly amusing fashion.
Splendid!
However, upon being informed that the police are downstairs to talk to him about anomalies in the company's pension account, he immediately jumps out the window in a hilarious contrast to his previous confidence. Number 4. Frank Grimes, The Simpsons.
I can't stand it any longer. This whole plant is insane!
Hardworking Frank Grimes gets a job at the Springfield nuclear power plant and immediately takes a dislike to Homer Simpson, especially his constant buffoonery and inability to do his job. As he is exposed more and more to Homer's life, Grimes becomes outraged and astonished that Homer is able to coast through life with such apparent success, while his own life has been so difficult with little to show for it.
Ah! Ah!
It eventually gets to the point where Grimes snaps, emulating Homer's reckless, stupid behavior in a warped, bitter attempt to emulate Homer's way of living, only to electrocute himself in one of the show's darkest, funniest, and most divisive endings.
Well, I don't need safety gloves because I'm Homer Simpson.
Number 3. Bernice Foreman. That 70s show. The paternal grandmother of series protagonist Eric Foreman, Bernice is a thoroughly unpleasant and critical woman, being especially cruel to her daughter-in-law, Kitty. While driving Bernice to the airport after a visit, Eric remarks to her that it wouldn't kill her to be nice for a day, at which point she immediately slumps over dead. The death itself is hysterical for how ironic and immediate it is, but it sets in motion a lot of great humor later in the episode, like Kelso's overreaction to touching the body or the excellent open casket scene.
Oh, sorry. Those should be closed.
Number 2. Susan Ross, Seinfeld.
See you later.
Oh, these are so cheap.
George Costanza's recurring love interest, Susan Ross, was ready to finally settle down with a neurotic man after years of their on-again, off-again relationship, despite his apparent desire to back out of it. While assembling their wedding invitations, Susan suddenly passes out. At the hospital, a doctor informs George that she died, while also revealing that it was likely the adhesives used in the cheap invitations George insisted on getting that resulted in her death.
We were expecting about 200 people.
George's non-reaction, and that of the rest of the gang, took the show into hilariously dark territory, making it nearly the funniest death on TV.
All right.
Come on, let's get some coffee.
Number 1. Kenny, South Park. The perpetually mumbling, hoodie-sporting member of the South Park Boys group of friends, Kenny is among the most death-prone characters in fiction, having died in almost every episode for the first few seasons and many times thereafter in a wide variety of ways, and nearly all of them are funny.
Oh my god! Ozzy Osbourne bit Kenny's head off! You bastard!
While there have been several other riotous deaths in the series, like Chef's over-the-top demise, Kenny just had to be number 1. Although quality is important in our entries, sometimes quantity just wins out.
That was a good one.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo and subscribe for new videos every day.